In March 2025, headlines around the world announced that Saturn's rings were disappearing. Millions of people searched for answers, worried they'd missed their last chance to see them. NASA explained the truth. It was an angle, an optical illusion that happens roughly every 15 years when Saturn tilts edge-on to Earth and its rings turn nearly invisible from here. Nothing had actually vanished, but buried underneath that false alarm was a real one. Because while the world was panicking over an illusion, scientists were quietly confirming something far stranger. The rings actually are disappearing, just not the way anyone thought, and not on the schedule anyone expected. For 350 years, since the first telescope revealed them clearly, one thing about these rings was treated as settled fact. Scientists believed they were ancient, a leftover disk of ice as old as the planet itself, formed in the same cloud of dust and gas that built the entire solar system 4.5 billion years ago. It was in every textbook. Then a spacecraft flew directly through the gap between Saturn and its rings, weighed them with a precision no one had ever achieved before, and the number that came back didn't make sense. The rings weren't ancient. They were shockingly young. Young enough that when they formed, dinosaurs may have still been walking on Earth. That wasn't the only thing we got wrong about this planet. Saturn is the second largest planet in the solar system, 95 times the mass of Earth, built almost entirely from hydrogen and helium, the same raw material that makes up the Sun. It spins so fast, a single day lasting under 11 hours, that the planet physically deforms, bulging outward at the equator, flattening at the poles, until it isn't really a sphere at all. And despite its enormous size, if you found an ocean large enough to hold it, Saturn would float. Its density is lower than water. Nothing about that world should have hosted liquid oceans, storms shaped like geometric shapes, or anything resembling the ingredients for life. And yet, one by one, everything we assumed about this system has been overturned. Let's start with the poles, because this is where the first crack in our assumptions appeared. Every gas giant we had ever observed showed swirling, chaotic weather patterns at its poles, shifting and reforming constantly, the way storms do everywhere else in nature. Saturn was supposed to be the same. Then Voyager sent back images of the North Pole in the early 1980s, and scientists thought they were looking at a processing error in the data. There, sitting at the top of the planet, was a perfect six-sided hexagon of clouds, wide enough to fit 2 entire Earths inside it. It wasn't a glitch. Decades later, Cassini confirmed it in far greater detail. The hexagon had held its exact six-sided shape for as long as anyone had been watching. Storms are not supposed to hold geometric shapes. Scientists have since recreated similar hexagons in laboratory tanks of spinning fluid, and they now believe it emerges from colliding jet streams at different speeds. But why Saturn, and only Saturn, locks into this shape still has no confirmed answer. At the South Pole, meanwhile, sits a storm with a clearly defined eye, more massive than anything comparable on Earth, feeding not on warm ocean water like a hurricane, but on heat radiating from deep inside the planet itself. And roughly once every Saturnian year, something even larger erupts across the entire globe. Astronomers call it the Great White Spot, a storm system large enough to wrap fully around the planet, last seen in 2010 and still not fully explained. So the assumption that gas giants behave predictably was already wrong. But the biggest reversal was still coming, and it involved the rings themselves. Up close, Saturn's rings are nothing like the smooth halo you see through a telescope. They're made of billions upon billions of individual pieces of ice, ranging from grains of dust to boulders the size of a house, each one orbiting independently, held in a plane so flat that despite spanning 280,000 kilometers across, wider than the distance from the Earth to the Moon, the rings are in places less than 10 meters thick. For centuries, the leading assumption was that this entire structure had simply always been there, drifting since the birth of the solar system. It made sense. It fit the timeline. Nobody had a reason to question it. Then Cassini spent its final orbits threading the narrow gap between Saturn's cloud tops and the inner rings, measuring their gravitational pull with extraordinary precision to calculate their total mass. And the number came back far too small. The rings weigh only about 40% the mass of Saturn's small moon, Mimas. That matters because rings that light couldn't possibly have survived 4.5 billion years of bombardment by cosmic dust without turning dark and dirty. Instead, they remain almost impossibly bright and clean. The only explanation that fits the evidence is that the rings are young, somewhere between 10 and 100 million years old. Not a remnant of the solar system's birth, a recent event. The likely cause, an icy moon or a wandering comet straying too close to Saturn and being torn apart by its immense tidal forces. The shattered debris settling into the ring we see today. Around the same era, dinosaurs were still alive on Earth. And even that wasn't the final correction. In December 2025, researchers going back through Cassini's very last measurements, dust samples collected during those same closing orbits, found something nobody had accounted for. A faint, invisible halo of fine dust particles ejected from the rings, reaching out to nearly 3 times Saturn's radius. The rings scientists had been measuring and photographing for 400 years turned out to be smaller than the system actually is. There was more of it all along that no telescope had ever detected. And here's where the story turns again. Because young doesn't mean permanent. It means the opposite. Saturn's powerful magnetic field reaches into the inner edge of the rings and electrically charges some of the icy particles there, pulling them down along invisible magnetic field lines until they burn away into the planet's upper atmosphere, exactly like a meteor entering Earth's sky. Scientists call it ring rain, and it's happening constantly, right now, at a rate scientists estimate could fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool with ice every 30 minutes. At that pace, the rings could be entirely gone within another 100 to 300 million years. So the full picture looks like this. Saturn's rings were not born with the planet, and they will not die with it either. They are a brief, temporary event, a few 100 million years long, inside a planet that has existed for over 4 billion. And we happen to be born in the narrow sliver of time when they're actually here to see. That single reversal was enough to rewrite the textbooks. But it wasn't the only place scientists had to admit they'd gotten it wrong. For a long time, the assumption about Saturn's moons was just as simple. Cold, dead balls of ice, geologically inactive, unchanged for billions of years, holding no more mystery than any other frozen rock in the outer solar system. Titan and Enceladus dismantled that one too, in two completely different ways. Titan is the second largest moon in the solar system, bigger than the planet Mercury, wrapped in an atmosphere so thick that before any spacecraft arrived, no telescope on Earth could see through it to the surface. Scientists expected a barren rock underneath. Instead, in 2005, the European Huygens probe descended through Titan's haze and became the first spacecraft ever to land on a world in the outer solar system. Its cameras caught drainage channels carved by liquid, running toward a dark, flat plain resembling a dried lakebed. Titan turned out to have rivers, lakes, and entire seas, just not of water. At nearly minus 180 degrees Celsius, its lakes are filled with liquid methane and ethane, substances that exist as gas here on Earth. Sunlight breaks these molecules apart high in Titan's atmosphere, and the fragments recombine into complex organic compounds that drift down and coat the surface, running an entire chemical factory in the sky. Many scientists now describe Titan as a working laboratory for the kind of carbon-based chemistry that may have preceded life on early Earth. And deep beneath its icy crust, most researchers now believe there's an entire ocean of liquid water, kept from freezing by heat generated as Saturn's gravity flexes the moon from within. Not a dead rock, not even close. Enceladus went further still and broke the biggest assumption of them all. Enceladus is barely 500 kilometers across, small enough to fit inside the state of Arizona. Its surface reflects almost all the sunlight that reaches it, cleaner and brighter than nearly anything else in the solar system, strangely free of the impact scars found on every other small icy moon. For decades, no one could explain why. In 2005, Cassini flew past and found the answer erupting directly from the surface. Massive plumes of water vapor and ice were blasting out of cracks near the moon's south pole, hundreds of kilometers into space. This was not a dead world. It was venting material from somewhere inside it, actively, continuously. Later flybys found the source, an entire hidden ocean of liquid salt water beneath the ice, kept liquid by the same tidal flexing that warms Titan. Cassini flew directly through the plumes and tasted them with its instruments, detecting water, salts, and organic molecules, the basic building blocks associated with life. In 2017, near the very end of the mission, scientists confirmed hydrogen gas within the plume as well, evidence of chemical reactions between the ocean and a rocky seafloor below it. The same kind of reaction that powers entire ecosystems around hydrothermal vents on Earth's ocean floor, in complete darkness, far from any sunlight. A tiny, supposedly dead moon, sitting hundreds of millions of kilometers from the sun, turned out to have nearly every basic ingredient life needs. And in a final twist, the ice it vents doesn't just disappear. Some of it escapes into orbit, and forms Saturn's faint outer E ring. One small moon, quietly building a ring of its own. We assumed the rings were eternal. They're not. They're a temporary event, and they're already disappearing. We assumed the moons were dead. They're not. One may be raining liquid water into space over an ocean that could support life. We assumed the poles would look like every other gas giant's. They don't. One of them is shaped like something no storm should be able to hold. We watched the fake version of this story and believed it completely. The real one, we almost missed.